It's affordable racing. Well, maybe not for me. It's affordable racing in the grand scheme of motorsport, shall we say. And so you have a lot of drivers who maybe not would be able to race in GT3, but at least are here in GT4.
As we look at Finlay Hutchinson, British driver, of course, in the McLaren 570S GT4 car, going from P3 on the grid. That 154.934 shares the car, of course, and brilliant qualifying there. And then we look at that glorious-looking car. I mean, that... And... Villarino, the Porsche Cayman CS MR GT4 car. Just look at that. I mean, just looking at the dashboard and all the controls, it just kind of makes you want to take the microphone off, I'm afraid, and sit in that car. I don't think I would prefer anything like as good as Ander.
No, and I think that's the important thing as well. Yes, they are racing variations of road cars, but they're not simple machines. You can't just jump in and do it, as Matt Nicole Jones lines up in P5. These are still thoroughbred racing cars.
The Aston Martin Vantage GT4 car in that really matte black finish. I mean, it just looks menacing, doesn't it? Some great shots there from our camera team, it has to be said. And then we go alongside for the number 60 car of... it's good to see Phil Glue from the Maserati Gran Turismo MC GT4 here. The Phil Glue then racing and goes from P6 on the grid. So the grid gradually forming, and then the eclectic mix of cars continues then as we go to the number 34 machine. These amazing KTM crossbows. Willem Meyer in P7 with a 156.816. As I say, it's just a fantastic mix of cars, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's a chance to see some wonderful teams getting to run out in GT4, as well as Alain Ferté racing. He'll be taking off in the Porsche Cayman CSMR GT4.
Final words between teams going on there, as you can see at the head of this 50-minute race with the mandatory pit stop, of course, around this 4.3-kilometre Zandvoort circuit.
And Ferté's teammate, of course, Grégoire Demoustier, who'll be jumping in at the halfway point of this race when we have the changeover of drivers.
Reinhard Koffler then is another one of the drivers that pedals the KTM Crossbow GT4 car. And look at focus and attention then on Reinhard's face, giving very little away in terms of the emotion ahead of this 50-minute race. And then the number 9 car for Duncan Huisman, the McLaren 570S GT4. I would say that as Duncan flashes his lights for us there, a bit of disappointment with qualifying result there for Duncan Huisman.
Huisman's a very good driver. He's been around GT racing for quite a while.
A long time, yes.
As has his teammate Luke Rams. So maybe a little bit disappointing for them in one sense to see them 10th on the grid, but I think they'll enjoy trying to climb through the order on a tight and twisty but quick Zandvoort circuit. It is a very well attended grid. It's actually so long that we would need multiple screens on our timing and scoring to actually see the full grid.
Yes, you're right. There we can see the back end there of the Porsche of car number 112.
That's the Oren Vision Racing with Pavel Lefterov
yes.
and Jean-Louis Jasper. they're going to be going from P16 on the grid with a 158.264.
That's a great shot, isn't it? Just from top the race control building there.
You can't help but be envious, can't you?
Envious is not the word. Really isn't the word. Another one of the KTMs then, as the Arkim Myrtle car with a 157.085, giving P11 the car shared with Eduard Anton.
They're P4 in the AM Championship. Well, Eduard Anton is P4 in the AM GT4 AM Championship, and looking to maybe get some big points today, but it's a long point behind the AM leader, Giuseppe Gessi, who is 118, and quite, you know, Romy Del Antonia is second in the championship with 90 points, so Gessi has quite a bit of an advantage. And for those who are probably not too familiar with sports car racing, it's not going to be a standing grid. So the field will go around for their for the warm-up laps, and it will be a rolling start. So when they come around the final corner, the final corners, they will line up side by side, and they will get the green flag and actually go straight into the race.
So rolling start then. Chris Motorsport then, familiar name in GT4 racing and certainly in the GT4 European Series Northern Cup. We're live from Zandvoort with race number 1 about to get underway. And one that is not able to get away is that 112 car of Papa left her off. And that car not managing to get away at all. Now, if the car can be got going, as indeed it is,
touch and go, he got going just as the last car was about to pass him, so...
Now, under rules of racing, that means that it has to go to the back of the grid now, doesn't it?
For the most part, yeah, actually, but it's interesting because we did come across there was a regulation in Formula 1 where Danny Kia at Montreal earlier this year had a similar problem where he stalled on the grid and went to the back, but they allowed him to retake his position as long as he got to his position before the safety car. So I don't know if that applies to GT4 as well. I'd assume if he's gone to the back, it's too bad. As you see the starting grid for this 50-minute race. We have a note on the time and scoring. It's that is an investigation for the number 65 car.
Now that's the car of that's P18 on the grid, isn't it?
Yeah, and working on the car while on the grid, there is a 15-second warning before the cars get off on their formation lap, and the mechanics need to be cleared from the grid by the time that comes up.
Okay.
And if they're not on the grid, it's generally a drive-through penalty.
Well, Alain Grand and Didier Moreau then, their Ginetta G55 GT4 car then being worked on, presumably outside of that window. Well, cars making their way through the chicane now. It's a very, very big grid of cars, and we're expecting some fantastic racing to come from the GT4 European Series, the Northern Cup, and the 4.3 kilometer circuit then that wends its way. And we've got a problem there for the number 26 car.
It's second place. It's Sohail Ayari's car is stopped coming to Hanshurst chicane.
Now, this could mean that we have another rolling lap, potentially, couldn't it? Unless that car can be got going again.
Or unless they can actually get it into they've actually stopped by a gap in the barrier there, right where the Deutsche Post signs finish. So if they can actually get that car rolled back in.
Just going back to the other car that we saw on the grid, that's got to stay at the back now, so I was correct with that.
Yeah, the Aura Invasion must, in that case, he's been passed by the last car on the grid, therefore he has to stay where he is. And that was touch and go because he did get going just as the last car was coming by. As we get the cars 2 by 2 now coming onto the start-finish straight. Lights will turn green in a few moments and the race will go.
So then as they head towards the lighting gantry then,
It's a yellow flag.
No,
the start has been aborted. Now, I think this might also be to do with the fact that because the car that was initially on the other car in front row of the grid, the 26 CMR machine, that is because that's actually pulled off.
Yeah.
The only car at the front would theoretically have been the pole-sitting car, which is the Ecris
Motorsport BMW
with Ricardo van der Ende at the moment. So it looked as though the grid seemed to deform slightly as they were going up. Where another car should have been on the.
So the rule is you have to leave that gap, don't you?
Yes, yeah, it should be a clear gap. And we just got a notice on the time-minute scoring that the circuit is clear. So the 26 car has actually been cleared from the track. They would have taken it in between the gap just behind the marshal, and that's incredibly disappointing to actually not even get to the start of the race.
I did mention, didn't I, when we saw that car pull up, that I wondered whether that would cause an extra formation lap, and confirmation on the timing screen, that's exactly what we're going to have.
So, of course, Van der Ende now. In fact, the race, in a sense, has actually started. Even though it's down as an extra formation lap, the race has started. So we are actually running the race. But it just means that the actual green flag running, proper race running, will start at lap 2 as such. Because that now means that Hutchinson, who was P3, qualified P3, is starting P2 in the equipped Versure car. That's the McLaren GT4 570.
Well,
so we won't get a 2x2 restart. This will be.
But that's really hard to police, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really difficult. And surely there has to be, from race control, there has to be a degree of flexibility, because that's very, very difficult to do it. You know, when you're lining up alongside a car for a rolling start, that's just a little bit easier, isn't it? Because you've got to judge, you've got to measure, haven't you?
Actually, my mistake. They are relining up for a 2x2 restart, so that's my error. So we are going to get a 2x2, but you can see the leading car, because the car that originally qualified second is out of the race before it even starts. You have that gap.
Yes.
And I think that may have been.
But do you know what? Credit to these drivers. They're doing it really well, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely, and a very, very good job. As we see Van der Ende now about to launch into the first racing lap here, even though the race is technically already started.
So then, as the cars round the final turn, they'll get sight of the lighting gantry for the second time, and on this occasion they hope that it will, of course, go green. Now, turn 1 is going to be a very, very busy place indeed. So here they come. We go green. Let's go racing. And a brilliant start from the Maserati, also from one of the KTM crossbows as well, as they go very nearly 4 abreast. Heading towards turn number 1. They are 4 abreast. I said it was going to be busy going into turn 1. And look at this, coming through the back. There's a big, big lock-up as well. But miraculously, every car, and all credit to their driving, all get through turn 1 unscathed.
Absolutely scrubbed off just enough speed there before coming into turn 1, and has prevented an incident. That was initially a bit of a sluggish getaway from Van der Ende, but he just held off the 222 TFT Racing Porsche Cayman from taking the lead. That is Ander Villarina in second place now, ahead of Hutchinson.
Well, Van der Ende then really getting it going now, as the rest of the cars come screaming through in this GT4 series. What a fantastic start that was, after a botched attempt, which was no fault of any of the drivers. That was one of the cars that was not able to make the start that caused the problem. And then throughout the grid, there is so much action and so much activity already, with such a big, big grid of cars in this GT4 European Series Northern Cup race. It's to be expected, but Van der Ende is doing what he needs to do, isn't he? He's just building a little bit of a gap. But Finlay Hutchinson is right on the back of the 222 car that is currently P2.
Absolutely. Now that he's actually kind of got into a rhythm, he's pulling away slightly, and it's just what he needed to do. Held on to the lead, coming through those first few corners, and really he's got a big gap there now. And Villarino's really going to be watching his rear view mirrors to make sure Hutchinson stays behind.
Well, at the moment, Hutchinson looking very, very lively indeed. And from our heli shot then, as the Van der Ende then it's Villarino, then it's Glue, Hutchinson, Jones, Mayrick, Heisman. As through up on the inside then for P2. And that was a good overtake, taking that Tarzan turn exactly as you need to. And this track is one of the really old school circuits with no runoff area, so any mistake is really going to be punished. And you're going to be in significant trouble if you run off, because there are no long and large tarmac runoff areas. It's gravel or it's grass, and it's going to bite you and bite you hard. So into the 44th minute of
so what we have now, Dave, is we're now to the second proper racing lap. We have the number 8 of Van der Ende leading the race, and that is actually Van der Ende.
Whoa!
Oh, it's a collision! It's a collision!
You could see the lock-up coming, and Van der Ende has gone around. He's got to try and get again. He's lost 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. He's lost a whole bunch of places.
And that is going to be looked at instantly, I can tell you, by the stewards. As the pro racer Villarino went into the silver, the leading silver car, the leader overall, Van der Ende, as...
Now, here it comes now.
I don't...
There was just there didn't appear to be any braking there.
Yeah, it just seemed to go straight in, and he just carried so much more speed through the corner. And that is, yeah, wow. I think that's going to be investigated pretty sharpishly. And I tell you, credit to the drivers for driving...
Well, it was great avoidance, wasn't it?
Driving through the smoke without...
well, what Van der Ende was doing, he's got the car lit up and trying to spin it around and get back, and he is back, but look, he's way down the order now in comparison to where he was.
And Phil Glue, race leader in the pro car. We have...
So Glue leads from Villarana, then it's Philly Hutchinson P3. Extraordinary, and there Van der Ende trying to come back. Down there, where is the Van der Ende car? It's
he's dropped to 15th place overall.
Oh my goodness!
But this actually does have implications for the championship, Dave, because Villarino, having been in that incident, he is leading the Pro Cup in this race at the moment, and the next couple of drivers, you've got 5th place. It's the number 33, and it's Andy Merrick, the Bullet Racing McLaren. And then next up is Pro Cup leader Duncan Heisman, 6th overall, the P3 in the Pro class. And that's the kind of incident that will allow Heisman to get one step closer to the title.
Well, the incident between car number 60 and car number 8 under investigation, of course. The team manager from car number 60, Phil Glue's team manager, has been invited to the stewards now. That's
going to be some very, very strong words. Very strong words.
Surely. Drive-through penalty for car number 222. That's the car that's running P2. An inaccurate grid position. That's very hard to police, isn't it, because of the rolling start.
I wonder maybe if he went too early.
Perhaps.
On there when the green lights went.
There is the treble 2 Porsche then that has got a drive-through penalty for that inaccurate grid position. Now the thing is, that drive-through penalty has got to be taken within 3 laps of being notified. I think I'm absolutely correct in there.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Now Finley Hutchinson has got any sense here. He'll ease off. He won't be trying too hard because he knows that treble 2 car is going to come in. There is Van der Ende then trying to make his way back. Ahead of him is the number 74 KTM Crossbow.
And he's already taken a position. He's up to 14th place now, having passed Emil Westman in the Team Hollinger KTM Expo GT4.
Wow. Action throughout the grid.
So Glue leads, but how long is that going to be? Second place is Villarino. How long is that going to be?
Well, quite. Oh! And from our heli shot, you can see just how close they're getting. A car in trouble there. And every which way they go to get past that car that's got puncture, I think, and the left rear.
Left rear, yes.
See that from the heli shot there. So some fantastic images we were able to bring you of this GT4 European Series Northern Cup Race 1, and 40 minutes of the race remaining, and still plenty of action whichever way you look at the moment. So Phil Glue, then, you mentioned, who is currently leading, got a 2-second margin over the treble 2 car.
And then, of course, but then Hutchinson is currently, Finley Hutchinson currently 3rd place, just ahead of the Academy Motorsport, Matt and Nickel Jones in the Aston Martin Vantage GT3, both in the silver.
How long is Glue going to stay in that position? Because surely that is, well, I would have thought that will be looked at and there will be an almost immediate penalty, Lee.
I think that's what we see as a huge outbreaking there.
Wow.
And it's another spin in turn 1. That is the 94, the Racecom car of Akim Mortal.
Yeah, shared with Edouard Anton, of course, that car. And here we can see in replay.
I think
what's that? That's the Equus Motorsport BMW, of course, Van der Ende trying to come back, and there was a touch there, wasn't there?
I'm quite lucky actually, because he's kind of half spun, but it's but it also come back round to him. But still, Van der Ende might even get a penalty for that.
Yeah, he might. But you can imagine and understand his utter frustration, who race leading and then having to try and make up this time. And make his way back up the order again. So Finley Hutchinson then is not taking my advice and is pushing just as hard in that number 10 car to try and wrestle away that P2 position. Bear in mind, the car that is running in P2 at the moment, which is the treble 2 car of Ander Villarino, has got to come in for a drive-through penalty. Now, surely Finley Hutchinson will have been made aware of that also?
Possibly. I'd assume so, but it depends how long Villarino takes to actually take his drive-through penalty, whether it's the full 3 lap. And there we have
Phil Glue gets a drive-through penalty for causing a collision. Quelle surprise. So that means as the treble 2 car comes in for its drive-through penalty, notionally, the leader is going to be Finley Hutchinson, isn't it? Because Glue has got to come in for a drive-through penalty. It doesn't matter whether it's 6.5 seconds up the road. It's completely and totally academic, isn't it? He's got to come in for a drive-through penalty.
And that makes Hutchinson effectively the leader of this race.
Meantime, the crossbow of Angermeyer and Koffler having a real fight with the car of Luke Brahms and Duncan Huisman. Drive-through penalty served for the treble 2 car then. Phil Glue is the next that's going to queue up to take that drive-through penalty, and that will put Finley Hutchinson in the number 10 car up into the race lead, along with Exuba Moore, the driver pairing there.
And the incident between Van der Ende and Mortal is also being investigated by the stewards at the moment. They've had a busy first 15 minutes of this race. As we
now under pressure is that number 75 Ortolando sport car of Dario Ciratti and Maurizio Fondi, and that's the battle that is going on. Oh, as a round goes, the number 9.
Huisman, it's Duncan Huisman.
It is. The Luke Brahms Duncan Huisman car has gone around
from 4th place and lost many positions, and it's quite an incident-packed first 15 minutes of this race. And what's happened here is this takes. Is he going to get closed in on by?
Well, that was the number 33 car doing the closing in.
That's Andy Merrick. Andy Merrick's just closed in on while Huisman was going down the inside.
And again, very good avoidance by everyone.
And instantly, we have Villarino's another investigation for pitching, exceeding the pit lane limit.
Here's Phil Glue in then for the drive-through penalty.
And some very disappointed looks from some people there in the pit lane as Glue was driving down the pit lane.
So the crossbow of Angermeyer and Kofler we can see there, which is the orange and black car, which is currently running P4, chasing down the number 33 car of Andy Mayrick and Stephen Patrick, of course. They share that car. And there you can see that battle continuing. We've got 35.5 minutes of this race. The team manager of car number 8, which of course is the Equus Motorsport, Ricardo van der Ende, Max Keerbolt car, being urged to go and see the race steward as well. So, oh, goodness, can I breathe yet?
So in the lead of this race at the moment is Hutchinson. That's in the Pro-Am car. And effectively second place, Merrick, who's just been involved in that incident with Duncan Heisman. That's in the Pro car. So when the... and it's an off here for it's the number 62.
That's the William Moore, Matt Nicol-Jones car, isn't it? The Aston Martin.
And he's well off. And that's beach. That's not going anywhere.
Now, will they allow the race to continue with that car there? It's far enough away, isn't it? Oh, well, we didn't quite see. It was clearly there was a lock-up, wasn't it? Because you can see the
tyres were marked on the road long beforehand. No, I think the stewards and the race director will always...
Safety car is deployed, Lee. That's it.
The race director will always act under the presumption that if one car can get there, then another
one can. Absolutely.
It's something that's probably more applicable in rain-affected races, but still, you don't want to have an incident that could be avoided, as we see.
Now, the one I feel a bit sorry for here is Finlay Hutchinson, who'd built up a reasonable margin, and now that whole margin is going to be naught, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's completely beached.
That's going to take a little bit. Matt Nicol-Jones, then, that's going to take a little bit of getting out of there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to take... It's very deep into the gravel trap, but also very far away, I believe, for an entry point.
Right.
For the diggers to go and actually pick him up. Yeah, Hutchinson had basically a 4-second lead over the KTM Expo of Reinhard Koffler. So the two Pro-Am cars leading this race, Andy Merrick, as I said, who was involved in that incident with Heisman a few moments ago, in third place. That's the Pro car. That's the leading Pro car in this race.
Incidentally, Phil Glue returned, having served a drive-through penalty in 14th place.
That's actually what I mean. Actually, the digger has actually got to come from the very far side of the circuit to actually pick that car out. So this is lengthy, almost, but because if you could actually see where on that track on the screen there, we have the large gravel trap, and unfortunately it's gone away. And the gravel trap actually goes upwards because it's on a huge mound of land, and just behind that is another grass mound. Right. You can't actually get the diggers in there. You actually have to place them on the far side.
I see.
On the entry into that corner. And if someone goes off on the far side, you have no choice but to wait, because the digger has to go all the way across the gravel trap to pick up the car and then bring it back again.
Recovery information brought to you in association with thank you, Lee, for explaining that. Now,
but it does mean that we're going to have a little bit of a lengthy safety car period as the digger has to make that long journey and back again.
Okay, so Finlay Hutchinson then in replay here, leading the race, and the car is of course the equipped virtual car of Finlay Hutchinson and Seb Moore, McLaren 570S GT4 car, beautiful looking car.
We've just got a notice on timing and scoring that Van der Ende, the team is
was
Liberties.
I mean, yes, that was the Autolanda Sport car of Giuseppe Gezzi and Manuela Mengozzi.
And the leader in the AM point standings, of course. The team manager for the number 8 car, that is Van der Ende, has been called to race control immediately. Right. And that's it's the immediately.
Oh, I see.
That will raise some eyebrows. Now, normally we're actually getting to the point of the race. We're almost 20 minutes into this race. It's a 50-minute race. We have generally a 10-minute window in the middle of these GT4 races for pit stops, for driver changeover, new tyres, etc. But we're now into that stage where we would normally be starting this pit window, but we have a safety car, and the pit lane's closed. Yes. And the pit lane will remain closed.
Until this is recovered.
Until this is recovered.
Okay, in the situation then, for those that don't necessarily always follow the GT4 European Series Northern Cup race, what happens for those drivers then that have just a single driver entry in the car? They have to come into the pit lane and stay there for the same amount of time as it would take to...
They're held for a certain amount of time to kind of level out any kind of potential advantage that they may have for not having to change driver.
And one of those is the young lady that's P3 in the GT4 AM points, and that's Manuela Gostner. I know Manuela very well, and great fun. She's driving the Villorba Corsa, Scuderia Villorba Corsa car, the Maserati GT GT4 car. She's currently just looking on the timing screen. She had a torrid qualifying and is running P22 at the moment. In the race overall, of course, yes, as opposed to the AM points. And it should be made clear that there are two races effectively going on at the same time. There's that for the Pro-Am points and that for the Am points. Safety car is coming in this lap, so we will get back to race action, and the pit lane, I should think, will open pretty sharpish thereafter to allow the driver change and the mandatory pit stops to occur.
Just note, Gostner is running 6th in the Am class at the moment, 22nd overall. So.
Okay. Well done, Manuela. Great, very, very talented driver. So less than 30 minutes of the race remaining, and it has been a race that's been fraught with action already.
There's been a lot of incidents, but there's been incidents from people I didn't expect there to be.
I still can't get over that.
From.
I still can't get over that Van der Ende spin around. I mean, you know, it just looked like it was, well, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it.
Well, they've got the about to get the green flag on the final couple of corners.
So then it's Finley Hutchinson's job, isn't it, to back them all up and to try and get a launch away. And the one that's looking really lively here is Meyrick.
The interesting thing about Meyrick is there's been no investigation noted as the...
And look how many are diving into the pit lane now.
The pit lane is still listed as closed.
No, it's got to be open.
According to time and scoring, just actually flashed up on screen a moment ago, so that's interesting. We'll see if that has any... Well, if it is closed, then the drivers don't seem to know about it. Merrick is one of those who actually has pitted. Or sorry, no, he hasn't. That is Meyer. That's Meyer is pitted.
It's going from bad to worse for Ricardo van der Ende. He gets a drive-through penalty for causing that collision where we saw that car turn around.
Pit lane actually opened 10 seconds ago.
There we go.
But that actually, that's interesting. Because I've seen this in previous iterations of GT racing where it's actually touch and go with seconds as to whether you're allowed into pit. So I wonder if that's going to be something they'll look at, as there's a little bit of confusion. The drivers that's jumping into one of the Porsches has not got his belts done in the slightest, and his partner just walked off.
Yeah, that's Gabriele Piana, of course, that races in the Porsche Carrera Cup, and Razvan Umbrescu. And there, Ricardo van der Ende then, who, as I mentioned just before, crossing over to watch that the driver changes, that drive-through penalty there. So, been turned around and been on the receiving end, lost so much time in so many places, and now with the drive-through penalty as well, the race is done and dusted, isn't it?
Pit stop window's only just opened in the last 25 seconds. So
this is curious.
This is curious because I think a bunch of drivers have made a mistake, because we see a spin with a number 77. That is a Scuderia Villorba car, and it's got the...
it's Romy Dali Antonio, isn't it?
And what's happened? Oh. He's got a nerf. That is
that was
from Mengozzi, who's just jumped into the 76 car in place of Giuseppe Getzi. I think that's going to be... And he's actually gone off himself onto the grass. Has he hit the barrier?
No, he hasn't. He's
recovered it, but that was a silly error.
Oh, dear.
There's a point where you probably should say that this overtaking maneuver is not going to come, and that's it. So that's just something we need to, we'll keep an eye on as the race goes under. The incident between the 76 and 77 cars is now investigated. Is the situation with the pit stop window? Because I'm certain they actually came in too early, but we will see.
Well, there was an awful lot of them that did come in too early, if that indeed was the case. As Kramer is out of the car, and here you can see, and it's great to be able to bring you this shot then of the Kramer Racing driver change going on, and the conversations and discussions and arguments and the fraught activity down there in the pit lane as we look at the car of the Allied Racing Freddie Kramer, that Schmidt car.
That's Schmidt going into it. as Kramer just pulled into the pits.
Well, I'll tell you what, the race steward is really busy, or race control is really busy, because the team manager for
that's for the
Autolander Sport team has got to report straight away to race control.
And that's for the incident we saw a few moments ago in the chicane. So see, and Hutchinson's pitted from the lead.
So that means that nominally in the lead is the RIS team KTM of Engelmeyer and Reinhard Koffler. Reinhard Koffler in the car, of course, that KTM Crossbow GT4 car.
And also we've just seen the number 8 car of Max Kolbart come in. That's a drive-through penalty for the incident earlier on, causing the collision. That was when Van der Ende was in the car.
So Finlay Hutchinson out of the car then, and in the car
Saba Moore.
That McLaren 570S GT4 car. 24 minutes remaining of this GT4 European Series Northern Cup race. Oh, fantastic sound as you hear the number 77 Scuderia Villorba Corsa of Fascicolo, the Maserati Gran Turismo. Sounds absolutely awesome.
That's in the AM class, of course. And they're down in 6th in the AM class, but there's drivers ahead who have yet to pit.
This is one of the fantastic cars in this championship, the Sofia Car Motorsport of Ivan Vlachkov. That, of course, is the Sin car, Sin R1 GT4. I remember first being introduced to this car. I think it was at the Red Bull Ring some years ago. What a fantastic car that Sin car is. The number 11 car is in as well. That, the Sofia Car Motorsport. Well, that is the car that I was talking about, that Sin R1 GT4 car.
Ivan Vlachkov into the pit. Now, this is what I mentioned. He's the only driver in that car for this race, so there is like a set minimum time.
Yes.
To
listen to that scream out of the pit lane. 23 minutes remaining now.
Meanwhile, the number 64, Jamie van der Balk, leads in the KTM Expo GT4, yet to pit. They're in the...
So there, the Ivan Vlachkov Sin car, Sin R1 GT4, back out then. We've seen it in the pit lane, and that car just looks and sounds absolutely awesome, making its way down to the twisty section of this Zandvoort circuit now, running downhill and out into the dunes, climbing back uphill now, running down towards turns 6 and 7.
And what were one of some of the notes we're beginning to get on the time and scoring screen, and this happens sometimes with cars, is it check the driver ID, and that basically means when you have the driver change, and the new driver gets into the car, they got to flick a switch on the transponder, so that they are identified, because it's on the time and scoring screen, and that's the puncture we saw earlier a few moments ago for that is Duncan Heisman. That's Duncan Heisman's car. Until you actually flick the switch, as it were, it will stay on the original driver who was in the car.
So it's sending the wrong information
It's
back.
sending the wrong information, and they need to actually flick. The team will get onto the driver to get him to change the transponder, and if they don't, that's something that they will be brought into the pits and made to do.
Under investigation for pit stop times, car number 4, which is the Energy Bay ART team of Alain Furté and Gregor de Moustier, the Porsche Cayman CSMR GT4 car. That's under investigation for pit stop time. Also under investigation for pit stop time is that Sofia Car Motorsport Sin car that we saw.
I wonder maybe if it was too short a time in the pit lane for both of those entries, as we see some action further down the field. That's ridiculous. That is just a ridiculous move in the pit lane.
We've seen unsafe releases, haven't we? But
it's such a small pit lane. You don't do things like that. That's an unfortunate incident, and really something that should have been guarded against by the drivers and the pit crew. There's a gaggle coming through the back end of the circuit.
Remain side by side, don't they? The number 74 car, the RYS team True Racing of Laura Krahamer and Cedric Freiberghaus, the KTM Crossbow GT4 car, being chased down by the 111R Envision STS of Gabriela Piana and Razvan Umberescu.
I do believe Krahamer is just out of the pits. I think this may be the first time out of the pit, so I wonder as they go through side by side and bang, bang, bang.
Well, the 111 car of Gabriela Piana then winning that little quite physical battle. Here we can see it again now. Gabriele up on the inside here, and I wouldn't want to call that 6 and 1, half a dozen of the other, isn't it?
So you see the pro car going down the inside of the Pro-Am entry.
That was at the chicane, wasn't it? Under investigation, car number 74, which is that Krahamer Freiberghaus KTM Crossbow for an unsafe release. So under investigation there, so that was noted by the race control team, the very thing that we saw on screen and also in replay as we get into just under 19 minutes of the race remaining. Race leader is the number 64 car of Silja Haug and Van den Balk, the KTM Crossbow GT4 car. Running in P2 at the moment, the number 94 Racecom car of Edouard Anton and Achim Mortel, the number 94 car, and then P3 is the equipped virtual car of Finley Hutchinson, and it's now Saba Moore in that McLaren 570S GT4 car. And
P2 on the timing and scoring screen is the Racecom car. That's going to drop down the order, but for a brief moment, an AM car P2 in this race and all that. But now as the timing and scoring screen kind of updates itself,
we've got a drive-through penalty, haven't we, for Mengozzi Getzi car? The
yes,
Getzi Porsche 911
for causing that incident a few moments ago. Now, the pit lane window, I think everyone must have done their stops by now. As we see the team manager for the 9th place 111 Oren Vision Porsche came and got. That's the
that was the Gabriele Piana incident we saw just a moment ago, isn't it?
Yeah, team manager has been requested to the stewards immediately.
There's a queue of them outside the steward's office, isn't
there? I think it's quite funny that they have requested and immediately. I don't think the two of those words necessarily go together.
Under investigation for pit stop time also is Achim Mortel and Edouard Anton in the number 94 car.
13th overall at the moment, so
we could have a person assigned just to the timing screen for the messages for penalties, couldn't we? Or people being invited to exclusive meetings with the race control team as we could. Our eyes on the race. Right, where are we now? Presumably with everything done and dusted in terms of the pit stops, it is Saba Moore then that will lead in the McLaren 570 GTS, as you can see. P2 is the number 14 KTM car of now driven by Eike Angermeyer, the KTM Crossbow GT4, and then running in P3 is the 64 car of Silja Haug, that KTM Crossbow GT4. So we've got KTM's P2 and P3.
And interestingly enough, it's P1, 2, 3 and 4 are all Pro-Am class cars.
Okay.
And in fourth place is the number 60, it's the Ebor GT car with Charlie Fagg in the Maserati GT4.
Right now, can I draw your attention to Leah Gorman, motorsport journalist alongside me, who will give me the latest raft of penalties, please.
Lord. This is not fair. It's a stop-and-go penalty. Now, these are drivers who probably spent too little time in the pit. So it's car number 4. That is the Energy by ART.
It's the Demustia car, isn't it?
Yes, it's the Demustia and Alain Ferte car. They're currently 6th overall. Then it's the car number 11 of That is the Sofia car Motorsport. That's a Vlachkov car.
It's the Sin car, isn't it?
And also the 94 car, which is the Racecom car with Aki Mortal and Edouard Anton. That's the KTM Expo. That is currently running P13.
Well, the car that's running P1 at the moment is the number 10 car, which is being driven by Saba Moore. Under some pressure now, it has to be said. And so too is the P3 KTM Crossbow then, under pressure from the number 60 car being driven by Charlie Fagg. There's Bernhard Laber, the Porsche Cayman CSMR GT4.
Interestingly enough, Dave, I think it is quite important to note that leaders of this race are the ones who've not made the leaders in this race are the ones who've not made the errors, who've not made the silly little mistakes on track, who've not made the silly little mistakes in the pit lane, but rather gone about their job in a very clean manner, very tidy manner, and who are now leading this race.
But what amazes me is the P4 car, which is the number 60 car. Now, bear in mind, that's had a drive-through penalty.
It has actually. That's the number making it go for P3 overall, actually over Sillyhaug. And this is actually where we get to the Pro-Am categories. The professional drivers, yes. GT racing, as Sillyhaug goes well onto the gravel, he could well lose P3 if he keeps making mistakes like that. And again, he's gone off again. He's about to lose third place if he's not careful. And round the outside. Can he get around in the Maserati? He's gone down. Yeah, I think he has it. P3. And this is actually the point I was about to get to. Is the professional drivers in this level of racing are actually near enough the same. Very good professional drivers who will do the lap times, who will not make the mistakes and all that kind of stuff. It's the amateur drivers is sometimes where these championships and these cups are decided. As we saw Sillyhaug going off not once but twice in the first couple of corners of that lap. It's the amateur drivers, that's where the real differentiation between the pilots actually really is. It's the professional drivers will just perform and perform and perform and perform, whereas the amateur drivers, they may get pace over one lap, but they may not be able to do it for 20 laps.
So it's that consistency of ability, isn't it, that marks out perhaps a professional from an AM driver. Yes, and I completely understand that.
And an amateur driver can maybe nail an amazing lap once,
yeah,
and maybe not see it again until lap 25 or something like that. So, and that's sometimes where the difference in between these Pro-Am categories.
What it does do, it provides for incredible entertainment for us as race fans, doesn't it?
Absolutely, definitely. And actually, just an acknowledgement as well, is the number 60 car P3, despite having a drive-through penalty. Of course, we need to look back to see if that was taken before the safety car.
Yeah. Fair point. Meantime, up the inside, the number 34 car there. That was a great move, wasn't it, by the car that's Lennart Marionek and Wilhelm Meyer. Up the inside of the Porsche, Chalk Dunn, and the number 22 car that's shared by Jan Kasperlik and Jörg Wiebahn, relegated one place.
And as we come into the final 10 minutes, the final 11 minutes of this race, and we still have a big battle for the lead out front, as there's more still leading from the number 14 of Engelmeyer.
In the meantime, the fight at the front continues.
Oh, and that is
side by side they are. This is P1. This is the battle for P1, isn't it?
And third place is the number 60 car. That is the Ebor GT car that took Sillyhaug only a few moments ago, ready to pounce should these two clatter into each other again.
Every possibility of that, the way that we've seen things going at the moment. But at the moment, the number 10 car then of Saba Moore has shown a clean pair of heels to the number 14 car, which is running in P2 of Angmeyer. But Angmeyer looking very, very lively indeed. And here we go. There could be another attempt going into turn number 1 here. And, of course, there is the number 3 car just waiting to pounce, as you said.
I think Charlie Fagg is going to try and go for P3 this time, and he doesn't make it.
No.
And that is Angelmeyer just holds him off, breaks a little bit later into the corner, but he looks faster. He just looks quicker at this stage in the race, and I think it's probably only a matter of time before the Maserati jumps into second place.
Can I bring you another parish announcement? The car that's P7 at the moment, Gabriella Piana, has got a drive-through penalty for causing a collision. We saw that just a few moments ago, didn't we? So that will elevate the number 24 car, which is driven by Samuel Schladecker, up into P7. Under 10 minutes remaining in this incredible drama-filled GT4 European Series Northern Cup race.
We still have such a close battle for first, second, third, fourth on your screen there. City House seems to have actually regained himself somewhat ever since losing third place, and he's now only 2 seconds behind the lead as a mistake.
Well, I just think Angmeyer is just looking. Look, there was a touch.
And he's through, and Fagg's going to go take second place as well. Can he make it through? As does Moore lose the lead?
Oh my goodness!
He does. He's in the shot. And he hits.
There's a hit. And again, the two of them, they're both off. The big recipient is going to be P3 here.
And Silly Howe grew into P2. Oh, that was and it goes side by side, door to door as well, and instantly Angelmeyer's out of the race.
Goodness me! Just when we thought it couldn't get any more exciting.
A damage there for the number 10 car. There's panels. It is this, or is it actually just
the door?
Is it the door or is it the sticker?
Oh, it might just be the sticker, to be fair. But anyway, whatever it is, the black and white flag is going to be shown to that car, but it's slowing, isn't it?
Yeah, he's very, very, very slow and about to lose third place there.
Oh, goodness me.
Well,
it's like a panel, isn't it?
Yes, it is the panel, I think.
Well, I'd like to see that in replay because... Oh, well. Thank you, team. I mean, there was a real... Here they go, look, and this is where the first coming together comes, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is they banged doors earlier on, and that's the moment. That is where you can see the suspension is actually damaged on the Engelmeyer car, and it's actually the wheel is turned in completely. They did bang doors earlier on in the straight, and we're going to see it's now bang. That's a race ender for both of them, and it's allowed Charlie Fagg easily into the lead of this race.
Goodness me.
And Silly Howe into second place. And we said it only a few moments ago. It's like 1, 2, 3, and 4 right in the window. You only need someone to make a boo-boo, as it were, ahead of you, and all of a sudden you gain a couple of positions.
A boo-boo. It's a mistake, isn't it? The heck is a boo-boo? Right. Well, I'll tell you what. From the start of the race until the end, the action doesn't stop coming thick and fast in this GT4 European Series Northern Cup racing. And there we can see the retirement of the number 10 car.
And actually a black and white flag for the number 10 car as well, forcing another driver to leave the circuit.
Well, I just...
Not happy faces down there at all.
So now, Silliahog and Lennart Marionek, P2, P3. Yellow flag in turn 8 and 9. And what P2 is looking a little bit vulnerable here. I think Lennart Marionek is fancying this P2 step on the podium potentially.
And in fourth place overall is the number 22 Allied Racing.
Safety car is out, Lee. Forgive me.
Oh, and it's an incident. Another one.
The safety car has been deployed. Now
it's a clash between the Street Art 007 Aston and it's the number 33
Patrick and Mayrick car, isn't it?
That is.
Well, safety car deployed then, and
it's the Stephen Patrick.
There. Mika Stanley then in the Aston Martin Vantage car.
Incidentally, Patrick was P6 and Stanley was P8. So I wonder if I think he's just gone in, made a dive bomb. Has he?
Let's have a look.
Yeah, he's gone for a 7th place, overshot it, and taken the 6th place guy out. There you go.
Yeah, that was quite an impact as well, wasn't it? Oh, well, you have to say that the
Stephen Patrick would have really
Bullet Racing team are not going to be very happy about that.
From the other angle, it's actually quite you can see even more of how it was a significant impact. But he's dive bombed the number 94 car, overshot it completely, and actually taken out the completely innocent Stephen Patrick in the Bullet Racing machine.
Why? You can almost hear it, can't you?
And yeah, and you know, it's and I think it may be polite words between them. And I feel with only 4.5 minutes left, Dave,
this could end under the safety car.
Yeah, this may be it. They're still talking about it. He's not happy. Stephen Patrick clearly not happy. Was running P6 despite incidents earlier in this race, and we're looking for a decent result. But that's just that's taken him out.
Well, with just 4 minutes remaining, there's 2 cars to recover there, and they've definitely got to be recovered there from turn 1, haven't they? And well, there as we look through the number 14 car, which is another casualty, the Angemeyer Kofler car. There you can see. And, well, there's significant gravel, bits of carbon, suspension components, you name it, they're all spread across the track, aren't they?
There's a lot of people who are going to be working very late tonight.
You're not kidding. You're not kidding. So,
and actually, as a reminder, Dave, we still have race 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, we do.
So, like, these cars got to be repaired and put back together. I'd be actually, you know, I'd almost be surprised if we do see the 007 tomorrow, because that is
significant damage.
But is that engine damage?
Well, I mean, it's certainly radiator damage, if nothing else, isn't it? And that will be not only radiator damage, but power steering damage. So yes, I mean there is a lot of work to be done there on that 007 car. You're absolutely right to call that. We can see the recovery vehicle is waiting to come out onto the gravel.
This is not going to be done in time to clear 2 cars.
I don't think so.
No, clear 1, you might get touch and go, maybe 1 last lap, but clearing 2 cars, not a chance. So Stephen Patrick, they're very, very animated, and rightfully so. I think that was an unfortunate and silly mistake by Mika Stanley there.
Yeah.
Completely misjudged the gap, really.
So what is holding us up here then?
I think they're probably going to let it run out and just pick up the cars, but they can't restart the race while the cars are sitting that close to the.
So they're just going to allow the safety car to control them around until the race is done the time.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a double-edged sword, because you can't leave the cars there, but at the same time, as I said, it would take so long to actually remove those cars with just one digger that the race would finish under safety car anyway. So. But as I said earlier on, if one car can go off there, and another car can go off there.
You've made that point.
And they're going incredibly slowly, coming down this start-finish straight, and will continue to be very slow coming through the corner, mainly because you do have those 2 cars stranded right on the edge. Well,
the mood has changed a bit now.
And I think it's not even just the mood has changed. So she's gotten to that stage where we're 3 or 4 or 5 minutes on from the crash, and you kind of you hit a point where you kind of go, oh well, you know, it's happened. What can you do? You know, you hope that you'll be able to go in tomorrow. As I said as well a few moments ago, that 007 car, that's going to be an awful lot of work, and I would be surprised if we see it tomorrow.
Well,
but we will see. Yeah, we will see. Meanwhile, we got P1, 2, and 3 all Pro-Am entries led by the number 60 Ebor GT Maserati, driven by Charlie Fagg. Second place is the number 64 RS Team Internex KTM Bow with Mads Siljehaug. Third place overall is the number 34 RYS Team Kiska car, the KTM Bow, KTMX Bow with William Meyer. That's third overall. And in fourth place is the number 22 Allied Racing. It's Jan Kasperlik in the Porsche Cayman.
Yep.
And that is in the Pro class. The leading AM entry is in sixth place. That's the number 94 Racecom car with Achim Mortel. Sorry, actually no, it's Achim Mortel did the first stint. It's Edward Anton in the KTM Expo, and the sixth overall. And I cannot even consider doing the point standings in my head this time.
No.
It's been a long day.
Well, red flag now.
That's it.
So the race is done. There is the red flag being shown.
I'm surprised they didn't just let him go around and take the checkered flag, to be honest. It was last lap anyway.
Well, yes. Yeah, fair point. Wow, what a race. You do not have a second to look away from either the main feed screen, which shows us the pictures and out of the window as well, and then the timing screen as well, which carries really rather a whole raft of messages. Some good, some not so good, it has to be said.
It has been a race full of incident. Not always necessarily the kind of incidents we wish to see, but we've also seen some very good racing as well, and deserved winner, winners out front.
Well, yes, you've got to be in it to win it, and there are a number of cars that aren't in it now.
Bear in mind that winning car is also the Ebor GT car that was driven by Phil Glue earlier in the race.
I know, which had a drive-through penalty, and this is what is so extraordinary, isn't it? How things can turn around. Just a well-timed drive-through penalty, if you can well-time a drive-through penalty.
As good as. But there was a lot of penalties during that race, which brought the Maserati back up the order. But you can't fault Charlie's drive in that stint there, because he kept it clean, kept it quick, brought it to the flag, and he's won the race.
Yep, you're absolutely right. So then the cars are very slowly making their way back to the pit lane.
And you see in the background there the damaged number 14.
They're encouraging. I was just going to say, I think the safety car's about to run out of fuel. That's not the case. They're trying to get the drivers to come past, I think.
I wonder if they're just going to... Oh, you know what? I think they're going straight into their the paddock.
Yeah,
because the gate, the entry there.
Yes. Because their paddock is actually situated on the outside of the circuit, isn't it?
Yeah. So they're going to let the leaders of each individual class through to take the podium.
Yeah.
And while the rest of the field will just drive through to the far side of the circuit. And it is the last race here today, so they do have the time to actually to do this.
So there, the Maserati then into the pit lane.
You see the silver stickers on the back, is it showing that it is a pro-am class car. So you got one professional driver, one amateur driver.
Yep. So cars into the pit lane now then. As you say, the leading cars in the AM class and also in the Pro-Am class. And there, confirmation, Fagg, Siljehaug, Marionette, Kasperlik, Sleidecker, Anton, Melanie, Kraihammer then, the top 8 positions. Very busy down there. The cars sound and look great as well, don't they?
And they are wonderful machines. Some very happy faces in that in Parc Fermé.
Well, that's an interesting pose. Pretty happy about that, Jan Kasperlik. So both Jan Kasperlik and Jörg Wiebahn celebrating in fair style there. And the drivers will be ushered off up to the podium post-haste. For the podium celebrations. Making their way up the steps now. So it's been Jan Kasperlik there. It was just fantastic pose, wasn't it? Here's the result of race one. P1 then for the glue and fag car. There was Siljag and Van den Balk, Meyer and Marionek. Then it was Kasperlik, Wiebahn, Westman, Schledecker, Mortal Anton, Maloney, Chesoldi, Kramer, Freiberghaus, Cobolton, Van der Ende, and Piana and Amberescu, with Lefteroff and Jasper and Massatis and Macbeth. Manuela Gostner, P13, Fuert and de Moustier, and the rest of the order. Scrolling down the screen now. So drivers being prepared for their podium. By prepared, I'm not suggesting there's makeup artists there ready to dress them, but just making sure everything is in order, that the champagne is in the right place, etc., etc.
We are in Holland.
Yeah, we are. Some great shots and images of Zandvoort. And there, the assembly room behind the podium. And drivers about to be presented out there on the podium. And there you can see the GT4 trophies all lined up, and the Pirelli baseball caps as well. Lots of lots of after race discussions going on. You can't help but feel some of them
talking about who hit who.
We made it. Ah, yes. So the GT4 European Series Northern Cup. I urge you to do a Google search on GT4 European Series, and gives you all the information about it. Lennart Marionek then in the KTM Crossbow GT4 took P3 in the number 34 car. P2 in the end went to Mad Siljehaug in another KTM Crossbow GT4. But the winner was not a KTM Crossbow. No, a Maserati Gran Turismo MC GT4, the car driven by Phil Glue, Charlie Fagg then, that takes the win. And we'll see those drivers up on the podium momentarily. Maserati not without some damage to the front, you may recall, from the very start of the race, which actually saw that car receive a drive-through penalty.
Absolutely. And the safety car later on, as said, allowed the Glue Fag car back into the race, really.
So, about to bring the drivers out on the podium. See our presenter there. Somebody somewhere with a laptop working overtime, I should think, trying to score the points and penalty points and such like.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Welcome to the prize-giving ceremony
in English as well. We'll leave it to you, sir.
We have 3 classes, and the winners are from the silver class championship. And we call on the stage 3rd place drivers. That's Team Kiska from Germany, Willemeier and Lennart Marionek. Schalk and Jamie van der Valk. Please join the nets. And the winners in the Maserati for Igor GT Motorsport, Phil Blue and Charlie Fag.
So the drivers all up there are on the podium. We've let the podium presenter introduce the drivers up to the podium. And now time for teams to come out as well. And national anthem to play out for Phil Glue and Charlie Flag. That's not the national anthem. Stand by. It's track 4. It's track 4 on that CD. No. Let's play Beat the Intro.
I think I know this one.
Oh, that's great, isn't it? Well, just while we're ejecting the incorrect CD to put the correct one in, promise you we will bring you the national anthem.
I think something with the national anthem, the Britons, I don't know. It's the Brexit already.
Great sense of humour from our podium presenter then.
Then I think we'll do the trophies first.
Well, without the national anthem, the baseball caps go back on. And here to make the trophy presentations. Fine trophies as well. P1 trophies are held aloft. And P2 trophies being presented. Max Brahms then making the trophy presentations for P3. Yes, wonderful musical accompaniment of the cars revving up below is really helping the ceremony.
It does remind me so much. We had, a few years ago we had a Macau where Antonio Felix da Costa won, and it didn't have the Portuguese national anthem.
Well, it reminds me of I think it might have been a World Series by Renault race some years ago, where the national anthem, and this is how many years ago it was played out on tape. But the tape was wowing to speeding up and slowing down at the same time. It's terrible. Better to have none than to do it wrong, I think. So there we are. The Henkel Trocken is sprayed, and there, one very happy young lady with the trophy. That's mine. Ta-da.
She got down there pretty sharp.
Yeah, jolly well did. So the focus of all the media and the photographs. Wonderful stuff. That's it. Have a good slug of that.
Slight chaos.
Sorry for the slight chaos. Being told off now. We've got to get the lady with the mop.
Risting Tonton. And then it's time also for you, Max, to quickly. All right, guys. Is there still anything left in these bottles? Hardly. All right. Thank you, Ray. Another time, yes, with the glass, please. With the glass, right. All right, great. These guys are fun. Not always when you race against them, but at least on the podium.